not necessarily tribal or regional.
Welcome back. This is Daybreak on Trust TV, and right now we're going to go straight to the headlines of the newspapers to check out what's making the news this morning. We'll start with Daily Trust newspaper, and it carries this major headline on the front page: Presidential race, controversy trails attack on Atiku's convoy in Maiduguri. And it has riders here. We were attacked by hoodlums carrying APC flags, says the former vice president. And it's fake news. Campaign rally held peacefully. That is according to the police. Thug arrested. Its stage managed to score cheap popularity, says the Borno state government. And going down the front of the front page, that was the bottom. Petrol to cost 410 naira without subsidy, says NMPC. Details of that on page 23. Aviation crisis looms over planned demolition of FAN NAMA offices. That's on page 23. And consumers kick as FCTA increases water rate. 8 Nigerians win U.S. midterm elections. Details of that can be found on page 5. Towards the top of the front page, below the masthead there, census to gulp 533 billion naira. MPC queried for spending 1.9 billion naira on conferences. For details of that, it's on page 8. And talking about insecurity now, 2 killed, 10 villages sacked in Kano, herders farmers clash, and that is on page 10. Now these are the major stories on the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper this morning.
Okay, let's take a look at some more stories on the Punch newspaper this morning. Controversy surrounds Atiku convoy attack in Borno. And some of the writers there read, ex-VP's convoy attacked twice, scores injured, APC responsible, and this is according to the PDP chairman. PDP faction behind attacks count APC out. Onanuga, Borno APC chair. There was no attack. Suspected hoodlum arrested, says police spokesperson. And then you'd see the story about Buhari prays successful tenure for Nigerian Americans elected in the U.S. And that story is on page 23 on the Punch newspaper this morning. And then right at the top above the nameplate, I told aggrieved governors my worries. This is according to Bala Muhammad. And then AMCOM recovers 307 billion naira debt. INEC to sanction 23 workers for illegal registration. And you see the story about 28 killed in Benue clashes. Government demands probe. That story is on page 14 on the Punch newspaper. You'd also find other very interesting stories like this one about car rams Ogun motorcyclist on one way, 6 crushed. That's quite a very tragic one. Again, kidnapper strike on Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, commuters shot. You'd also see the story about why Nigeria can't implement AU free movement. This is according to the federal government. These are the major stories on the Punch this morning.
Next, we'll take a look at the Nation newspaper, and it takes a slight departure from what we've seen. It says, oil thieves threatening my life, says NNPC LGMD. And there's a rider here that says, EFCC, we're investigating crude oil theft. ICPC, 90 demand transparency. And another story here, going political now. I have fears for my re-election, Bala Muhammad cries out. And it comes with a rider that says, we will rescue Bauchi governor, says Wiki. At the very bottom of the page there, Oyo government eyes 8.7 billion naira from new GRA, and kidnapped attempt foiled on the Lagos-Ibadan road. Details of that on page 2. Moving towards the top of the front page, 2023, Buhari predicts victory for Tinubu, says no going back on notes redesign. And Amotekun Corps rescues 6 kidnapped undergraduates in Ondo. At the very top of the front page there, Atiku promises to revive Lake Chad, fight insecurity. And 8 Nigerians win in U.S. midterms. Republicans take over House. And another interesting story now on page 27. Why I set my stepchildren ablaze, says a suspect. And pivoting back to something that has to do with politics, 193,000 PVCs yet to be collected in Kwara. Details of that on page 27. Now, these are the major stories on the front page of The Nation newspaper.
On The Guardian this morning, wasting assets. Experts doubt federal government's capacity to fund 20.51 trillion naira budget. You'd find some very interesting riders there. FEC approves team to sell reorder abandoned property. Government proposed asset sales in media propaganda, say officials. You'd also see that federal government yet to engage advisors. Program would not appeal to foreign investors, says Chioke. The legal constraints could stall process, and that's according to a lawyer. Buhari's asset liquidation performance is 0.65%. Only 5.92 billion realized from privatization proceeds in 7 years. The asset disposal model erodes country's intergenerational equity. You'll find other stories on The Guardian this morning. Meta purges 13% workforce may affect Nigerians in diaspora. And then Nigeria, others launch new Africa Carbon Market Initiative at COP27. Ararumi files 100 billion naira suit against Buhari over removal as NNPC chair. And on the Metro page, on page 8, why I set my 5-step children on fire. This is according to a suspect. Anxiety in PDP as Wike's camp visits Bauchi governor. And on the Panorama page, that's on page 2, Buhari congratulates Nigerian Americans on victory at U.S. midterm poll. These are the major stories on The Guardian.
Now, next we will take a look at the Leadership newspaper, and it carries this headline on the front page. As crisis escalates, PDP leaders woo Jonathan to placate aggrieved governors. And it comes with riders here that says ex-president has enormous influence over them, and we are still open to negotiation. This is according to Wike. I am inexorably connected with PDP G5 governors, says Bala Muhammad. And still on the front page of the Leadership newspaper, calls for humanitarian minister's removal unnecessary, says the presidency. Details of that on page 6. And still going with what we have seen so far, 8 Nigerian Americans win U.S. midterm elections. NNPC board chairman 10 months after Ararumi sues PMB for 100 billion naira over sack. Moving up towards the top of the front page there, 74 hospitalized as suspected thugs attack Atiku's convoy in Borno, and that is according to Dino Melai. Regardless of who wins 2023 election, tough times lie ahead, says the NESG. Now that's some gloomy news coming in from that side. And over at the top of the front page there, above the nameplate, insecurity, police deploy armed drones in strategic locations. Details of that can be found on page 6. And on page 25, speculators groan as Naira gains, sells at 780 Naira to $1. Now, these are the major stories on the front page of the Leadership newspaper this morning.
Very interesting stories there. Now, it's time for us to take a look at to do a proper review of some of the stories this morning, but that will be after this quick timeout. Stay with us.
But in a situation where you find that a person look like the same,
Not necessarily tribal or regional.
but I have said that.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us. Now, to take a look at what the papers are saying this morning, we have in the studio Dr. Larry Oluwani. He's a public analyst. Thank you so much for joining us on the program this morning.
Thank you very much for having me.
Forgive me if I mispronounced your name.
No, it's okay.
All right, so let's jump straight into it. One of the major stories making the rounds is actually a political one. PDP held its rally in Maiduguri yesterday, but unfortunately the main talking point wasn't the rally itself. It was the aftermath of the rally, or something that happened outside the venue of the rally, whereby the accusations and counter-accusations of thugs attacking the convoy, some denying it, some saying it was the opposition, and so many things being generated from that particular rally. What do you make of the entire situation?
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, this election campaign season, there's going to be more of it, acquisition and counter-acquisition. But the reality is that we're supposed to move more than this. This is almost 23 years of democracy in the Fourth Republic. Steady. So we are still looking for a cheap way to score a goal. That's the way I see it. And there may be truth, but the police PRO said it that they are not able to arrest anybody. So they are denying it. So the police is the middleman between the APC and the PDP. So if the PDP say we were attacked and the APC say no, this is just a way to score a cheap goal. But nevertheless, what's important most is that we should start thinking beyond all this. Each candidate, each party should be able to tell Nigerians what they want to do for the citizens of the country. Not looking for a weak point somewhere or looking for something to play on the emotions of people or to look for a way to be, you are looking for sympathizing, we call it sympathizing votes. Or try to discredit the other party, whatever. It has been happening many years. It's not a new thing, both in the both parties. Both of them do all those kind. But the major thing there is that we should move ahead. We should think ahead. We should look for more strategy to woo the voters.
All right. Well, the campaign season just kicked off, but already we're seeing pockets of violence here and there when it comes to some rallies. I think we saw some in Kaduna and now in Maiduguri as well. Is this setting a precedence for what we might expect subsequently or throughout the campaign season?
We have to speak to Nigerian police force, and we have to speak to the party that they need to tell their people to remain calm. You cannot rule out the violence in anywhere in the world. You can watch some Premier League, you'll see some people somewhere, pocket of violence somewhere. Just one thing may trigger one thing. But it's the responsibility of the law enforcement agent to curb the violence so that it will not lead to crisis. And it's the responsibility of the umpire to always speak peace, preach peace to the people. So we can't rule it out. We're in a large society and anything can happen. But we have a law enforcement agent to do their work.
Very interesting. Now, another very interesting story that's seen very, very important to us at the moment is the issue about fuel. We're saying that petrol to cost 410 without subsidy. That's according to the NNPC. And at the moment, it's not even available. People are struggling to have access to the commodity.
You know, the issue of petrol has been a major challenge, even to us as one of the major oil countries in OPEC. But at the same time, we are not able to manage it and to channel it in the right direction. What am I saying? We are producing crude oil. We are unable to refine it. So what we do, we all know, we export crude oil, we bring back a refined product. And when you export crude oil, you want to bring back, they refine for you in another country. And when they refine for you, they will charge you based on the international rate of dollars. And there is global recession already. And there is a challenge already in the oil industry due to Russia-Ukraine war. So definitely you are going to feel the heat. But let us know we are refining here, especially maybe we are refining the major oil that we are using, that we are consuming as a nation. That means we don't have cause for alarm. We just get our crude oil somewhere, we refine it for ourselves, and we sell it, we can regulate our price. So, but you cannot regulate your price any longer because you have involved another third party taking the crude outside your shore, bringing back the refined product back to your shore. There is a process to it. The host country will benefit. The intermediary between the host country, which are companies, will also benefit. So that's what we have been saying. I'm not shocked about it because they were talking about subsidy. We realize that they are spending 6 trillion for subsidy to subsidize it. Now, they have not removed subsidy, and they are telling us that the way things is going is going to be 400 naira per litre. So what is the way out? Everybody knows it.
That's quite horrible, I would say.
Yeah, it is.
And
doom.
another story that's closely related to this is the one on the Nation newspaper, where we are seeing the NNP CLGMD saying oil thieves are threatening his life, and then the EFCC are saying they are going to investigate crude oil theft, just to demand transparency in the long run.
You know, there are some powerful sectors in this country, which I'm aware of, that when you are privileged to head one of those sectors, they look after your life. They look for a way to hunt you, especially when you are doing the right thing. I could remember when the late Dora Akunyili happened to be the DG of NAFDAC. Her life was attempted many times. Why? She's doing the right thing, fighting the drug lord in the southeastern of Nigeria. So we are in a society where you stick your head to the rules, and when you want to make changes in your own spheres, definitely you're going to feel manner of attacks. So it's a responsibility of the government as well to give him adequate protection and to make him have a rest of mind, and his family as well, not only him, that nothing will happen to you. Continue your good work. Because if you're not doing good work, nobody will look for you. But if you are part of the, I'm not standing for him, and I'm not, but I'm just saying it. If you're not doing good work here, as far as this country is concerned, nobody will look after you. If you are corrupt, if you are biased, if you are this, if you are going, but if you are sticking to the rules in this country, you should expect attack. We all knew what happened to El-Rufai as well, as the FCT minister in this country. Different attack, different threats, different things. So that is the country we find ourselves, and quite unfortunate, because the bad ones want to have their day. So when I keep telling people, in the issue of nation building, is a collective effort, and that is the area majority of Nigerian citizens, even the professionals, they don't realize. They believe that nation building have to do with government. No, it's not the government. It's not a government role alone. Government have a major role, because we only have few people in government. What about the other sectors? What about you that you are bringing illegal thing? What about you that you are causing a oil debt at the South region? What about you? Are you not destroying the nation? Are you building the nation? What about you that you decided to kill your stepson or step whatever? Are you developing the nation? So people don't understand when they all categorize everything upon the central government. I said, no, you don't get it. We are only playing at the gallery until we begin to tell ourselves, we are men. Like what we are doing this morning, we are contributing our quota to the national development.
All right, well, speaking about national development, one aspect of Nigeria that we don't seem to, which is related to what we've just finished talking about, is actually the economy. Every time you look at it, there's something wrong with it. And right now, we have so much high hopes. Nigerians have high hopes that with the coming election, maybe a new government might come, bring in new policies and straighten things out. But now the National Economic Summit group is actually saying that regardless who becomes president, the tougher times lie ahead for Nigeria when it comes to the economy. So they are predicting a gloomy affair, so which means we're staring it in the face. Is there anything we can do to mitigate it?
Yeah, there is always a solution. I don't believe in giving out a problem without having a way out. Nobody will come from anywhere to build our economy for us. There is no foreigner that can build our economy for us. An angel will not fall from heaven to build our nation for us. God has deposited in the life of every individual wisdom and knowledge on how to turn things around. There can be global recession, there can be economy, there can be difficult things ahead. Nice, you are giving us what to discover. But it's now, responsibility now lies on the leader that is coming, the new administration that is coming, and put up a good team. When you are able to put up a good team, it's not your wisdom. There must be wisdom, there must be way out. So we find ourselves in this situation. There must be a way out. So do we now want to say, because there's going to be a problem in 2000 and whatever, we fold our hands and we allow the problem to come upon us as a nation? That means we're not human beings. So there are other issues across the world as well. We have 2020 COVID-19 pandemic period in the whole world that hit America in a hard way. It hit UK in a hard way. The whole Europe rather, in a hard way. Didn't they come out of it? Come on. They should stop steering something that is not steerable. That is the things I don't like to hear. Is that not happening in Russia and Ukraine war? Who can believe that someone like Zelensky can stood against Vladimir Putin? And now I'm happy to hear that Putin is now withdrawing his troops. So come on, they should not make us look as if Nigeria is unfixable. Nigeria we have 100% capacity of human resources as far as this nation is concerned. If the new administration ready to harness them, we have a lot of global experts in economics. I can mention their name. We have them among us. Mm-hmm. So if you reach out to these people as your economy advisory committee, let them bring out ideas, set up different committee, give us solutions. There must be a solution. So don't tell me we are the other Europe are passing through more than this. You know the inflation rate in Europe as I'm talking to you, because they want to stop collecting, they want to stop getting gas from Russia. The food supply has reduced. Did they die? What are you telling me?
Well, it looks like the next administration has a lot of work to do then.
Yes, there is a lot. Government is continuity. I always tell people, the higher we go, the higher the challenges, whether you take it or you leave it. Mm-hmm. Check your own life as well. The more you grow in life, the more the higher challenges.
Absolutely.
You can't tell me the same challenges you faced last year is what is facing you this year. And the more you grow, the more it keeps increasing. That's the reality of life. And the same thing about nation. The more we grow as a nation, the more we go deep in our democracy, the higher our challenges. We don't foresaw Boko Haram issue. We do not foresaw bandit and S-men clashes. Didn't we? We did not. But it happened along the line of our destiny. Someone must come in and solve the problem. We don't know what can happen next year as well.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about good news now. We saw that 8 Nigerians won in the U.S. Midterm elections. How did that news come to you?
It's a great things. You know, Nigeria are always doing great things, great
outside
exploit.
of their country.
Yes, because they have enabling environment. What every individual needs to achieve your potential in life is to have a good enabling environment, an opportunity platform. So that is what is lacking here. We have not grown to the level whereby we harness our potential in all spheres of influence. So they have a good enabling environment, good place to study, good place to show their skills and potential, and they go for it. But here is when you see somebody that is brilliant on the internet, but because he doesn't have money, you don't bother to vote for him or her.
Well, actually, with these Nigerians now that have actually won these elections in the US midterms, we have quite a lot of number of Nigerians in many other countries actually doing well. I think some are in Canada. We have members of parliament in the UK and all that. Do you think this growing number of Nigerians doing very well in diaspora will go a long way in enhancing Nigeria's reputation in the International Committee of Nations? Because
definitely. But the funny part of it is that most of the people you are mentioning, they cannot associate with your country any longer as much as you expect. Don't make that mistake. That's the truth. They have some of them have a dual citizenship, and some of them don't even have dual citizenship. They may be bearing your name, but they are citizens of America.
Right.
They are citizens of Canada. They are citizens of, like all those guys you see, the lady contesting prime minister in UK. She's a full-blown British, but you may be looking at the color of her skin or the name she bears that make you feel is one of our own. Forget that. Because why? They grow up there. The system have taken them off. What I mean by that is that when you grow up in those countries, anything about even Nigeria is not even recorded in their memory. That's the truth. They are full. Yes, they have checked them up. You have a child in any of those countries at the age of 5 years old now, give that child just 10 years. They won't even talk about Nigeria again. They don't even know what is happening in Nigeria. So they 100% associate themselves with that country that gave them the opportunity, that gave them the platform, and they are ready to defend that country, not your country. So don't deceive yourself. They are Nigeria by name, they are not Nigeria by citizenship. That's the truth.
Okay, that's an interesting take on it. All right, so let's still come back to Nigeria. The federal government actually proposed a budget of 20.5 trillion naira for the 2023, and a headline right here on the Guardian newspaper says, "Wasting assets, experts doubt federal government's capacity to fund this 20.5 trillion naira budget," because the federal government seems to have a lot of assets that are dormant and they are being wasted and we're not generating enough revenue. What's your take on this?
Yes. You know, while it's a proposed budget, it doesn't mean they can get up to that. But at this point, the funny thing is if they're still trying to go and borrow money to sponsor the budget, like they're actually correct. There are a lot of loopholes. There are a lot. I can tell you more and more and more. A lot of loopholes in our revenue that the federal government are not paying attention to, and they are not, I don't know whether they are not care or they look at it and maybe they have tried their best. But to me, my advice to any next administration is let them try as much as possible to onboard all these parastatals. We have single treasury. Upon the single treasury that we have, there is still all manner of shady business going on. Don't worry, bring the money, we will help you to pay remitter. They collect their own, they pay the little one they will pay to remitter. They are always finding a way to beat the system. So we should look for a way for the citizens of the country, the workers in the country will not be able to beat what we lay down. And that's what makes a good society. They asked Donald Trump a question. Why don't you pay tax? Why do you have, when he was contesting, he said to them, is it his own problem? It's not my problem. If I don't pay tax, you don't have agency that look after, that go and track people that don't pay tax. I mean, I'm smarter than your sister. And the case closed because it make a brilliant something. It may look fraudulent, but it's not my fault. You have a system. I let your system track me. So we don't create a solid system that we get these corrupt practices, block these loopholes so that we have a lot of money in this country. I keep saying it. We have a lot. If the money that are leaking alone able to get to the right place, oh, come on. We won't be talking what we're talking today.
All right, well, that's quite an interesting note and quite interesting take on things. And on that note, we're going to wrap up the newspaper analysis for this morning. Dr. Larry Oluwani, thank you very much for coming on the show this morning and providing those interesting insights as to the headlines. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All right, it's still Daybreak on Trust TV. We'll take a short break, and when we return at the top of the hour, the show continues. Do stay with us.
But in a situation where you find that a person look like the same,
Not necessarily tribal or regional.
because I have said that